I'm going to talk just a little bit about some of the things that we did over the course of 2022, some of the things that are planned and going to be looking forward to in 2023. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time up here because we've got some awesome panels throughout the day that are going to get a lot more into the details, especially of some of the things that we've been working on and in progress, things that will be finalized and coming in 2023. I guess I can look down here. I don't have to keep looking behind me. So first off, though, the Carequality team. One, we just got new headshots as a team, so I just wanted to show off everybody's awesome pictures. But also, for those that don't know, the Carequality team is a very small team. There's only 4 of us. You can see on the slide there. Myself, Alan Swenson, and then Soli Sullivan, Bill Mahegan, and Chris Dickerson. Bill and Chris will both be on the stage today running some of the panels. Anybody who participates in the work groups likely knows Bill and or Chris. And then Soli is our operations manager, largely leading things behind the scenes, Salesforce wizard. And so I'm sure many of you have heard from him on reporting metrics if you're an implementer and things like that. But awesome team. You could say, you know, whatever the phrase, the few but mighty. We certainly get a lot done in the Carequality framework with a very small team to manage it all. But definitely grateful to be able to work with everyone on the team here. So looking at 2022 as we're coming to a close, which seems crazy that it's already mid-December 2022, but it is. Somehow we're here. So we had a lot of things that happened over the course of, over the course of the year. For anyone who is an implementer of Carequality, which we do have many implementers represented, many who are live and exchanging today, others that are in the process of getting connected, and then many other organizations that potentially connect through an implementer are here, and others as well. For those who are implementers yourselves, you're likely very familiar, or someone on your team is very familiar with our monthly reporting that went in place as a mandated requirement in 2022. And this is something that we started working on in 2021. I created some templates for how to report things. There are some requirements in the implementation guides requiring reporting, but we'd never really been consistent in requesting and asking for information, just reports of exchange. And for those who aren't familiar with the infrastructure of how Carequality Exchange actually works, nothing goes through Carequality in the middle, so we don't see any of the information that gets exchanged. Implementers connect, provide connectivity to their customers, and Carequality provides the framework, the governance, the rules, and the directory so that organizations can exchange with each other, leveraging the policies and the governance of the Carequality framework, but nothing goes through Carequality. And so we require implementers to report metrics to Carequality so that we know the numbers that we report publicly as far as the volumes of exchange that are happening. Those come from implementers reporting to us how many exchanges they did with other implementers, and we aggregate all of that. And we put in place earlier this year, or really at the end of 2021, some enforcement that began in January of collecting those numbers. And we are consistently now getting them on a monthly basis. I'll show some of the numbers over time. And it has been awesome seeing the actual growth of exchange in the Carequality framework because we're now getting those numbers on a regular basis. We also created a new Carequality element this year, and that is the Carequality Framework Policies document. So the Carequality elements are the binding policy documents, and as well as some of the contractual documents that everybody has to follow the terms of. And there's a pretty lengthy process for how to create or how to update or do anything with those Carequality elements. And the Carequality Framework Policies is the newest of those that we created as an entirely new document earlier this year. It takes a lot of the policy stuff from various implementation guides, the query-based exchange, FHIR-based exchange, and electronic case reporting, and some of the others, and consolidates all of the policy stuff into a single document so that the implementation guides per use case can be focused on the technical aspects with the policies all existing in one place. It was quite a bit of work, and as you'll see when I get to some of the 2023 stuff, we're actively in the process of making some updates to that for some exciting new policies that we'll talk about on some of the panels today. But that was an important document, and as a follow-up, we have been or will continue working through all of the implementation guides now to remove all of what is now duplicative policy stuff from all of the implementation guides that now exists in that framework policies document. We also published an update to the document content white paper. Many of you know that is the joint document content white paper, Carequality, Commonwealth, joint document content group. Many of you were involved in that as Carequality implementers or potentially as Commonwealth members. Came together and created, and the first version was, I don't even know what year we published the version 1 of that, but there have been a couple versions. Version 2 is the third publication because the second was 1.1. So this is the third publication, version 2, of the document content white paper. And the purpose of that document, for those that aren't familiar with it, and hopefully many of you that are implementers are familiar with it, the purpose of that is that we have huge volumes of information being exchanged between implementers. And now that we've got these pipes laid and information flowing around, the goal of the document content paper is to improve the actual content that's being exchanged and to standardize on that content, make it so that organizations have a better expectation of what they will receive, whether they're pulling information from one implementer or another, one EHR vendor or another, that there will be better consistency between what's exchanged. In general, we point to, Carequality is not a standards body. We don't create new standards. We point to standards that exist, largely for query exchange, for example, IHE standards and exchanging CDA documents. And as some of you have maybe heard me joke, but one of my favorite things about standards is that everybody gets to do them their own way. And so there's a lot of inconsistency in how CDA documents are formatted and exchanged, and that's then the purpose of the document content paper is what Carequality largely does in our implementation guides is add constraints on top of the standards so that they are consistently used where the standard itself may allow for a lot of variance. And so we're going to have more focus on the document content. We're working on potentially some things with actually testing of content, enforcing some of the requirements in that paper. I know that some of the implementers are already using that as best practice guidance and developing improvements to CDAs, especially their like encounter summary documents, based on the guidance that comes in that paper. So, and HL7 has also, in the latest companion guide, has even put in additional requirements and guidance that came straight from our white paper. So helping to push the industry forward as well with consensus from the Carequality community. The Carequality Connected Agreement and the CC terms were both updated in 2022. And that is a very significant process. The Carequality Connected Agreement is the legal agreement, the contractual terms that every implementer signs. It has to be the same for everybody. And the CC terms, the Carequality Connection terms, are what implementers flow down to their customers. And again, the purpose of that being that there's consistency and organizations are able to exchange with each other through the Carequality framework without otherwise necessarily needing to know a whole lot about each other or having separate agreements in place because everyone agrees to the same terms. And so updating those terms means that we have to get all implementers to agree to the new terms, and they have to flow the CC terms down to all of their connections, which were tens of thousands of connections across all of the implementers. So quite a significant process. The importance of the most recent changes that we made were we have for several years been working with federal agencies back and forth in legal discussions with Carequality Legal and the federal agency legal, and those were always thrilling discussions and lots of back and forth red lines between legal for literally for years. And we finally got to the point that we had agreement between Carequality implementers being able to agree to the red line terms and the federal agencies saying this would meet their needs. And so the changes that were made this year for the CCA and the CC terms make it so that federal agencies are able to connect and participate in Carequality Exchange. The Social Security Administration is now live and is working with some organizations. I believe the first one that they're going to be exchanging, and this is for disability claims adjudication. The first one is supposed to be live here in the next month or so, from what I last heard. So excited to see some more rollout there, and other federal agencies are in the process of getting connected as well. So that will be a huge, literally years of work, finally updated in these documents so that we can get federal agencies connected and exchanging. We then updated the implementer fee schedule. Again, if you're an implementer, hopefully you're aware of that. It went into effect November 1st, the new fee schedule. Historically, Carequality had fee schedules for each individual use case. If you want to participate in query, you had a fee schedule. Fire had a fee schedule. The fire fee schedule was like 4 pages of text that you had to have an advanced degree in mathematics to understand. And so altogether, the fee schedule was a 10+ page document. And it was quite complicated. The next bullet on here is push notifications use case was going to require another fee schedule be added. But we were able to work with the community and with the board and created a consolidated fee schedule that now all of those 10-page plus document has been consolidated to a single table with some explanatory text, so it goes on to a second page. But it's a single table that all implementers pay off of the same table. We're in the process of getting that added onto the website, so there's transparency and consistency, and we don't have to ask a whole bunch of questions and figure out how much someone who wants to join as an implementer would have to pay to be an implementer. It'll be right on the website, same for everybody. So seemingly small thing, but simplifies a whole lot of process, and I know our accounting team was grateful for that one as well. Push notifications is our newest use case. This one was also published this year after years of work with the community. We had a few of you helped with some of the pilot testing earlier this year. This is fire subscription-based notifications, so no one is live on this yet. It was just published this year. But it is now on the website. It's available. We know that some of the vendors do support it since they piloted it, and now we're just working with folks on timelines for getting it into production. But this will allow organizations to subscribe to certain types of events for a patient and be notified proactively when patient has an admit to the hospital, for example, if that's what they had subscribed for. And then finally, 2022, among other things, finally, as far as what I've got on the slide here anyway, is TEFCA. Lots of work with TEFCA in 2022, and for those who aren't aware, Carequality is heavily involved in the work of TEFCA as part of the Recognized Coordinating Entity team working with ONC. We'll be talking a whole lot more about that this afternoon. I've got a whole session, I guess at, right before lunch, 12:05, talking about understanding Carequality and TEFCA. So I won't get a whole lot into all of that right now, but the Carequality team was very involved. And in 2022, we published the Common Agreement, the QN Technical Framework, a whole bunch of standard operating procedures. Most recently, the Facilitated Fire Implementation Guide, and that one comes largely straight from the Carequality Fire Implementation Guide. And is having some impact on how we finalize things with the implementation guide. And then onboarding designation and getting applications moving forward. Quickly, I do just want to acknowledge Carequality governance leadership. We don't, normally Advisory Council in particular, I would announce things on a monthly meeting. We're not having a monthly meeting because of the annual meeting, but we did wrap up the election period for the Advisory Council. Advisory Council terms are 2 years, so we have, we generally try to be at about half and half. You can see it's not quite half and half. Things have been adjusted a little bit over the years. But we have a number of continuing members and then a lot of new/returning members. We had about double the applications as we had seats available to fill. So lots of great interest in participating. And I guess first, congratulations and welcome to those new members. You can see on the slide here, we'll be joining for the first meeting later this month. And thank you to everyone who showed interest or is otherwise already participating. Also the steering committee. The steering committee is the body that oversees the governance of the framework. And our board of directors. Now I know I'm running short on time here, but growth and participation of exchange in the framework. So the graph you can see here is in part because of the numbers that we're now able to collect, and we're also in the process of going back and asking implementers to provide historical information. The blue line is the entries in the directory using the numbers on the right side. So we're up to, because of how we get the reporting, the numbers are from October. We had a little over 42,000 active entries in the directory in October. And in the month of October, we had 370 million clinical documents exchanged between implementers. And that's just when two implementers exchange. That's not even counting the numbers that happen within an implementer's own network. This is just the exchange across networks. So a whole lot of exchange happening in the country. Carequality's is really a fraction of the total exchange, but we've seen in 2022 calendar year, we've seen more than 4 billion, with a B, clinical documents exchanged between implementers just in this calendar year. Looking forward into 2023, and I'll briefly touch on some of these because we're going to have panels on them. But we're in the process of updating the Carequality Framework Policies document. As I said, implementers will see that coming shortly. Adding in a new definition for an exchange purpose for care coordination. We've got a panel coming right up that'll talk more about that. Some improved requirements for patient access, which has been a long time in the works, and we'll have another panel talking about that as well. On behalf of queries, this is where an organization who is not, for example, a treating provider themselves, but is an app that's used by a treating provider and would be able to query on behalf of the provider who is otherwise connected out of their EHR, as a simple example. Some policies that the community has worked on there, and I think is going to have a big impact as well in 2023. And then continuing rollout of all of our other use cases. Most all implementers today are live on Query Exchange. We also have the FHIR implementation guide, version 2 of that, which we've got a panel on that will talk more about that here this morning. Is being finished and will be published, and we'll start getting organizations rolling out FHIR Exchange. Push notifications that I talked about, Image Exchange. This is Diagnostic Quality Image Exchange. We've got some vendors that are very close to being able to start rolling that out in production. And then electronic case reporting, continuing to roll that out. We're currently seeing, I didn't have this on the numbers slide because we're working on some of the reporting there, but we're seeing over 1 million electronic case reports through the Carequality framework monthly right now. And compared to the 370 million clinical documents exchanged for query, that doesn't sound like a whole lot. But I think if there were a network that were only doing electronic case reporting, and we're only doing a little over 1 million of those a month in the time that we've gotten to that point, that would be a pretty impressive number. And we've got a number of implementers that are continuing to roll that out, so we'll see that number going. And then some of the main focuses that we'll continue talking about are bolstering trust and increasing transparency in the framework and between implementers and exchange. We're going to be doing some work with a process for reviewing, quote, edge cases. Those that have been involved in some of that recently may know some of the things that we're trying to improve there, making it so that organizations understand better, especially in the context of treatment-based exchange. When an organization says they're doing treatment-based exchange, but they're not, quote, the treating provider or the traditional treating provider. Reviewing some of those edge cases and allowing broader participation in exchange. I'm not sure what's going on with the microphone. And then the new directory is rolling out, and we'll have some requirements coming for that, which will help with bolstering trust and transparency, because there are some additional requirements that implementers are going to have to put additional information in the directory to make it more transparent what others are doing. And we're in the process of updating the dispute resolution process. That's a Carequality element that hasn't been touched since it was originally published, and we're in the process of making some updates there. And then finally, TEFCA again, which we've got more this afternoon that will talk a whole lot about TEFCA and some of what's going on there. But that is also going to continue to be a large focus for the Carequality team as we go into 2023. And I think that brings me right to a minute over time. So I'll wrap things up and get us to our next session. And in case you didn't see, we've got awesome Carequality scarves that I expect to see throughout the day, everybody putting on from the table. If you want your picture to be officially logged, you have to be wearing a scarf when your picture's taken. So thank you all for being here, your participation in the Carequality framework. And Chris is up next with our care coordination panel.